Hi, this is Esther Lin from MMAfighting.com, and I wanted to share a few of my favorite images from UFC 180 in Mexico City. We began our week in Mexico City with a sit-down interview with new title challenger Mark Hunt, replacing an injured Cain Velasquez in the main event for the interim heavyweight championship. From the outset, it was clear that Mark Hunt had other things on his mind. His body language gave away a deep trouble, augmented by hunger as he was trying to make 265 pounds by Friday. Hunt began at over 300 pounds when he received Dana White's call to fight 2 weeks prior. It was an intense interview that had Hunt removing the microphone and handing it over before the end. Later that day, we went to the beautiful interactive Museum of Economics for the open workout. Kelvin Gastelum kicks pads for an atrium full of excited fans. It was lovely to have the open workout in this restored 18th century convent in the historic center of Mexico City.
Oh, it's great to be in Mexico City,
Mark Hunt briefly hit pads, then answered many repetitive questions with many repetitive answers. The reporters piled on top of one another to get their cameras and microphones closer to the Super Samoan. High above the floor-level activities, 3 women peeked through a stone octagon in the museum. I wonder what they thought of the proceedings below. Throughout the workouts, Cain Velasquez's presence was felt in a cutout hoisted up by a fan in the courtyard. He popped up again as Fabrizio Verdum took the stage and wowed the fans, demonstrating a helicopter armbar on Babalu. The next day, the mood in the very full ballroom was decidedly lighter, with Verdum walking over to Mark Hunt, singing Cielito Lindo, asking the media to join in the fun. When Ricardo Lamas and Dennis Bermudez faced off, Verdum threw out "Kiss, kiss," prompting the coy play from Lamas and a round of laughter from the gathered press. After the face-offs, Cain Velasquez ascended the stage in his crutches to answer questions regarding his injury and his outlook for return. The next morning, I headed out in the dark at 5 a.m. with Greg Jackson and a team of coaches to climb the pyramids at Teotihuacan. We arrived before the gates were open, so Mike Valle drove us into the neighboring town. In the central plaza, there were tables set up serving various foods. We sat down for our breakfast of tamales and pancita. We sipped hot coffee and noshed on conchas under the work lights as pre-dawn sky began to slowly brighten. With our bellies full, we approached the pyramids, still steeped in morning fog. The guard at the gate joked that someone had stolen the pyramids since they couldn't be seen at all. As we approached, slowly the silhouette appeared. This is a color photo. The world really looked to be monochrome at this moment. The looming monument gave me chills. We made our way up the Pyramid of the Sun, as the sun itself was rising. At the top, I looked over at the shorter Pyramid of the Moon, still shrouded in fog and clouds. I asked Greg Jackson on his thoughts about where we'd come today.
We are on top of the Sun Pyramid in the heart of the Aztec Empire, standing on a very large structure that was built about 2,000 years ago, AD 100, and you can't even describe it. You can see it in that lens, but the fog and the mist and just the feeling here is phenomenal. You're just humbled. That's the word. Humbled. The hubris of an empire and what's left of them. They're still here, I guess, all out there, but incredible. Incredible.
We made our way down the Avenue of the Dead over to the Pyramid of the Moon and climbed that as well. By the time we reached the top, most of the fog had burned off and we were now being greeted by a fleet of hot air balloons. I felt so fortunate to have made the trip before sunrise, so now we were enjoying this amazing view without any other tourists. I took my time reading each bit of information along the way, trying to absorb all the history. From Teotihuacan, I went to weigh-ins, happy to see Jessica I and Leslie Smith weigh in, and of course, flex forward as well. The bantamweights were being showered with cheers. It was clear the energy was high. The electric atmosphere was buzzing through every fighter who stepped on the scale, and each time they stood to face off. As expected, the fighters of Mexican descent like Teco and Pantera drew adoration while the crowd booed any foreign opponents like the Nicaraguan Morales. Kelvin Gastelum received a warm welcome, and he returned that warmth with a booming roar. And Verdum, the eternal joker, pokes fun at the thin air of the high-altitude Mexico City to his new opponent Mark Hunt to close the weigh-in. That night, I went to the Arena Mexico for Lucha Libre. Let's be honest, this was the real reason I came to Mexico City. We laughed, we cried, we shouted obscenities in Spanish, and it was so much fun. The mural in the concourse was beautiful, adorned with scenes of the many luchadors. Everyone in the group bought masks, and we had a little fun reenacting a bit of the action. Our spirits were so high, it was difficult to sleep. A night of Lucha Libre into tomorrow night's grand UFC event, the first event here in Mexico. It's fight day. We ride over to the arena, and even before the doors were open, there were dozens of vendors on the streets selling all manner of UFC paraphernalia. The atmosphere outside has a lively buzz with fans milling about in the pretty afternoon glow. The vendors were all very friendly, but these two posed adorably for me when I asked to take a photo. I love the golden light of the setting sun shining on their smiles. That good mood outside permeated the arena, and despite losing his fight, Argentinian Guido Canetti smiles for me after answering reporters' questions in the press room. Inside, I watched from the upper bowl as Hector Urbina made his way to the octagon. I listened to 21,000 fans joyously sharing the first UFC event to be held here. There were so many outlets vying for a photo spot, I didn't get a chance to shoot the fights, but I did peek in to get this photo. After Verdum won and the crowd began to disperse, what was a quiet hallway was now a bustling gauntlet of interviews for programs from all over the world. Verdum interviewed with Televisa in the background, while the UFC's Megan Olivi prepped a wrap-up video. And in the foreground, Dana White spoke to Brazilian television. The post-fight press conference was jovial. Dodger Montano showed off his signature style. And as is common in fight sport, even the triumphant must tend to wounds as Jessica Ai sits upon the dais with an ice pack. Mark Hunt seemed disappointed, but not overly so. He considered each question and spoke frankly, and began to smile by the end of the press conference. There was such a warmth in the room, a camaraderie of being part of UFC's first foray into Mexico. The fighters sitting on the dais got together for a group photo. It was definitely a night to celebrate. Upon returning to the hotel, we were shooting our wrap-up video when Leslie Smith walked by, and I asked to take a photo of her in front of one of the many gorgeous walls in the building. This one has a lovely, rough gold texture. Her toughness was a highlight of the evening for me. Here, she's smiling, but I can see that tinge of sadness. Smith wanted to put so much more of herself out there. She would have kept fighting even if the air came off, I'm sure. Smith embodies that grit, that bravery and abandon we so admire in our favorite pugilists. It's why I watch these prize fighters in what some might find a brutal, barbaric sport. I am watching to find that fearless heart in action. This is Esther Lin for MMAfighting.com, and thank you for watching.